Turkey building defense area from Mediterranean to Indian Ocean, analysis. Turkey has been following a new geopolitical strategy by building a defense line from the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean, and from Libya to Somalia, wrote foreign policy analyst Mehmet A. Kansi for the state-run Anadolu agency on Tuesday. The new strategy follows the orders Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the founder of the Turkish Republic, he gave during the country's War of Independence, Kansi said. There is no defense line, but defense area. This area is the whole of the motherland, Ataturk said in 1921 in the midst of the Battle of Sakarya, one of the deadliest battles in history between the Greek and Turkish forces. The implications in Ataturk's remarks today indicates a greater urgency to Turkey's need to expand its geopolitical line of defense over a larger area given the global struggle reaching chaotic proportions on all fronts, Kansi said. Turkey's new defense territory covers on the one end the west and south of the Greek island of Crete and the headquarters of the Turkey-Qatar Combined Joint Force Command overlooking the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf and the Somali-Turkish Task Force Command in Mogadishu, the capital of Somalia on the Indian Ocean coast on the other, he said. Turkey now wants to strengthen its defense line with a new link in Libya, the analyst said. A new military cooperation deal signed with the UN recognized Libyan government of Tripoli opens the way for Ankara to deploy troops in Libya as well as a naval force, he said. With that move, Turkey's new defense territory can cover Cyprus, Libya, and Qatar, giving the country an advantage in protecting its interests in the Mediterranean and in 3 continents, Kansi said. On this path, which Turkey has been treading in keeping with the maxim there is no defending a line, but rather a whole area is to be defended, that area is now all of the world's seas, said the analyst. Turkey and Qatar are among 23 nations participating in a 30-day Saudi Arabian military exercise called Gulf Shield, Arab international newspaper Asharq al-Azait said. Air, naval, and land forces, as well as air defense and strategic weapons will be in use in the exercise, in which the United States, United Kingdom, Pakistan, and Egypt will also be participating. In 2018, Turkey and Qatar joined Saudi Arabian military exercise. Turkey and Qatar are among 23 nations participating in a 30-day Saudi Arabian military exercise called Gulf Shield, Arab international newspaper Asharq al-Azait said. Air, naval, and land forces, as well as air defense and strategic weapons will be in use in the exercise, in which the United States, United Kingdom, Pakistan, and Egypt will also be participating. The aim of the exercise, as described by the Saudi Defense Ministry, is to gain experience and to develop this military and security experience under various circumstances in order to protect the security of the region and wider world. According to several tweets on the drill, United Arab Emirates, UAE, will be another country joining the exercise. United Arab Emirates Foreign Minister Anwar Gargash has called for a strengthened Arab Union to prevent the Arab world from being dominated by Iran and Turkey, moderate Turkish Islamist Karar newspaper said in late December. Saudi Arabia announces massive 30-day joint military exercise dubbed Gulf Shield. Air, naval, and land forces from several countries, including Pakistan, United States, United Kingdom, as well as Qatar and Turkey will be participating. The exercise takes place despite the ongoing crisis between Qatar and a series of Gulf countries led by Saudi Arabia. Egypt and Saudi Arabia still have no official diplomatic ties with Qatar, and while many of the smaller Muslim countries involved in these military exercises have joined them in boycotting Qatar, Turkey has been one of Qatar's firmest supporters. In 2017, Turkey has opened a military base in Somalia as it steps up its Africa engagement. Turkey has opened its largest overseas military base in Somalia, cementing its relationship with the war-torn nation and strengthening its strategic place in the African continent. The $50 million base was opened on Saturday, September 30, and will train more than 10,000 soldiers. The move is part of an effort to institutionalize and restructure the police and military services, battle the terrorist group Al-Shabaab, and help expand the government's authority into more towns and regions. The new base also takes on an urgent significance as the 2020 withdrawal deadline for the 22,000 African Union multinational force gets closer. By setting shop in Somalia, Turkey has become the latest country to set up a military facility in the Horn of Africa nation. The United States runs clandestine operations from a base in the Lower Shabelle region, while the United Arab Emirates is expected to build a base in the self-declared region of Somaliland. Turkey's deepening engagement in Somalia has helped make discernible changes to the war-ravaged country in sectors ranging from health to infrastructure, education, and trade. Turkey has funneled millions of dollars in humanitarian aid to Somalia, and especially during the devastating 2011 famine that killed 250,000 people. In 2011, current President and then Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan's visit to Somalia was the first high-profile visit by a non-African head of state in almost 2 decades. Erdogan went on to build Turkey's largest embassy in the world in Mogadishu. Turkey also built schools, mosques, and hospitals, including the largest medical complex in the country. Turkey also augmented its investments, building and managing the Mogadishu port and international airport, and increasing bilateral trade to $72.3 million in 2015. Somalia also became one of Turkish Airlines' most profitable destinations worldwide. The military base in Somalia is also a reminder that despite Turkey's growing regional and national problems, Africa remains central to its global expansion strategy. Since 2005, Africa has remained a policy priority for Ankara, with engagements taking place in the fields of diplomacy, trade, investment, aid, education, and security. Since 2009, Turkey has increased its diplomatic missions in Africa from 12 to 39. In 2011, Turkish Airlines flew to 14 African cities. By the end of 2017, it will operate 52 routes from Istanbul across Africa. As David Shin of Chatham House wrote, this increased alignment is driven by the region's growing economic importance to Ankara, its interest in diversifying away from the Middle East, and the apparent desire for influence among sub-Saharan Africa's large Muslim population. But the congeniality with Turkey has sometimes come at a cost for African nations. Following the attempted coup in July 2016, Turkey asked several African governments to close down schools aligned with Fethullah Gulen, the self-exiled religious leader who was accused of orchestrating the failed coup. Countries like Somalia, which heavily depend on Turkish aid, closed the schools, refusing to heed the appeals of teachers, students, and workers who benefited from the school network. Sudan's Swakin revealed the location for Turkish military base. Necessary studies were carried out for the establishment of the Turkish military base on the island, and the planned location was chosen. The TISC is expected to form a base on the island as a naval base, including land and air. A fixed land element will serve on the island, and in the case of the rotation, this power will be supported by sea and air elements. Swakin Island used to be an important point in the journey of Muslim pilgrims traveling from African nations to Mecca and Medina to perform Hajj, and for traders from East Asia to Africa and Europe. During the Ottoman era, Turks constructed a mosque on the island for the Hanafi and a Shafi'i Islamic schools of thought. Erdogan, Turkey-Qatar military base serves regional stability. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Monday the construction of a new Turkish military base has been completed in Qatar, and it will be named after the famous Muslim commander Khalid bin Walid. Erdogan arrived in Doha earlier in the day to attend the 5th meeting of the Turkey-Qatar High Strategic Committee. He spoke to troops at the Turkish base, where about 5,000 soldiers have been stationed since a Saudi Arabia-led blockade started more than 2 years ago. The visit came as local media reported Qatar intends to buy 100 Turkish tanks. Turkey-Qatar Combined Joint Force Command serves stability and peace of not only Qatar but also the Gulf region, Erdogan said after meeting troops at the newly finished base. The command center was named after Khalid bin Walid, one of the Islamic world's greatest generals who commanded armies of the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century. He was so adept in battle, the Prophet Muhammad gave him the name the Unsheathed Sword of Allah. Erdogan dubbed the military base the symbol of brotherhood, friendship, solidarity, and sincerity. We have never left our friends alone in any period of history against threats and risks, and we never will, said Erdogan. A joint communiqué published by the official Qatar news agency after the meetings, stressed the importance of the unity of the Gulf Cooperation Council, especially in light of the challenges surrounding the region and mutual respect and full sovereignty of states and non-interference in their internal affairs. Constructive dialogue is the only way to end the current Gulf crisis, it added. Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javed said President Erdogan and Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani discussed bilateral ties as well as international issues during their meetings. We've been told matters pertaining to finance, urbanization, standardization as well as bilateral trade came under discussion, he said from Doha. Erdogan departed from Qatar following the discussions on Monday. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu told Al Jazeera that Ankara and Doha have a deep understanding of each other's concerns, but there was room for improvement. We signed 8 agreements, or MOUs, to strengthen the legal basis of our relations, Cavusoglu said. We have also been discussing regional issues where Turkey and Qatar have the same position, he continued, adding the two countries share excellent cooperation in areas such as the war in Syria, the Gulf region, and